Hi guys, so I had posted a video on TikTok talking about shadow question. I just wanted to kind of get into it a little bit more. Of course, you can't really do that on TikTok. The question was name. Wait. The question was name a situation that made you the most angriest you've ever been. And then name what made you so angry about the situation, who was in the situation, and how can you rectify that situation within yourself. So yeah, that question got real, it was fast, like I said on TikTok, but there's layers to that question. So okay, so I was thinking about, when I say name the situation that has made you the most angriest you've ever been, it doesn't even have to be it could go all the way to like when I was a kid, like deep down stuff, all the way to what happened at the grocery store. You will get some pretty heavy revelations with both. So, just for example, okay, just for example, no, this happened to me though, for real. Okay, so at the grocery store, the guy behind the register, he he was very nice to the girl in front of me, very nice to the girl behind me, but to me was like more like, just, can you just get your shit and please just, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay. So I got so angry with him, like angry, super mad. I wanted to speak to his manager. I was like the complete Karen of all Karens. I was just pissed. I hop in my car, I'm driving home. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe he acted. And here's just something else that I'll tell you too. Stuff that replays, check that out. Because after the incident, I thought about it all the way home. After I thought about it when I got home, I called my friends and told them about it. After that, even putting up, my groceries and shit that I bought at the store, I'm like, I cannot believe he did. So, being an alchemist, because that's what you are when you start to. So let me tell you about the alchemist, okay? So the internal alchemist always searches for those clues that work needs to be done. That transformation needs to happen. And they start to look for the ingredients to make that happen. One of the ingredients to transformation is triggers. And that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about shadow work, is we're talking about triggers. So something triggered me in that grocery store to make me talk about this guy, like be so upset about it. You have to excuse me with the sniffing, allergies, crazy. Okay, but so as I'm continuously thinking about this, I have to stop myself and go, why? First of all, why did this take you so out of character? You were having a good day. Everything was cool. Everything was fine. Who's this guy? You don't even know this guy. But as I sat and I thought about it, how he treated me was like the two other ladies were prettier than I was, more attractive. And so they got a different type of service than I would get, someone who he would deem unattractive. Now, mind you, this is all perception. He didn't say that. It could have been a million reasons why he did what he did. But for my perception, so let's talk about where perception comes from. So perception can come from the subconscious reality. The subconscious has its own personality. Your shadow self has its own personality. They have their own reality. They have their own reality of things, how they think things work. So when we tap into their reality, we perceive things their way. So my shadow self in reality is that, first of all, we're always judging our looks. And second of all, that I have an insecurity, that I'm not pretty, that there's something about me that makes me unattractive. So when he did that, he completely triggered all of that behavior that really had nothing to do with him. So I say all this to say, when we are thinking about shadow work, it doesn't have to be these, we don't have to think all the way back to a traumatic childhood situation, or but once again, you do have to go back there eventually, because that part needs to be looked at, and what needs to be cut away needs to be cut away. Because what alchemists do, what internal alchemists do, and spiritual alchemists do, is called soul surgery. We get in there, and it's also a shamanic trait. And I'm getting, just to be transparent, I'm getting more comfortable with that part of myself as a shaman, because I don't really like titles or things like that, and I've never really studied the shamanic, um, uh, you know, path. But some things we're just born with. It's just in our DNA. So when you get to that point where you're able to stop and look at your behavior and see it for what it is, that's when you know that you're really stepping into your alchemic way of thinking and becoming the alchemist that you are. Is when you can stop and you can look at things in almost in an objective manner, like a doctor coming in to look at symptoms. Like, oh, okay, hold on. So the symptom is you got way too angry for what just happened. That's the symptom, but what's the cause? So that's when you have to start doctoring yourself and being your own healers, or at least taking those people out that can help you heal. One of the things that I do, in my spiritual practice is, you counsel, you help people dig down to the trauma, and you help them do their soul surgery to get that out. A lot of times, having another person help you, they can actually see the trauma. I can see the trauma that maybe you can't see, or, vice versa, but just different things of that sort. But that question, it's kind of a loaded question. Every question I think that I ask is loaded. It's going to have more than one layer to it. But like I said, you can only do so much on TikTok. So I'm getting more used to being on video and, posting more and that kind of thing. So as I kind of sat back and analyzed that trigger, that there was an insecurity there that I had taken out on this poor man who was just trying to do his job. I should go back to the store on the pot. This was a while ago though, but hopefully he doesn't still work there, because he didn't look happy. He didn't look happy at his job. But as I sat back and I thought about all of that, it took me all the way back. So it can start out with these little situations of, mad at the grocer or mad at this person, da da da. And then it takes you all the way back, because you got to get to the root of, like, what is causing that type of trigger? Like, what is causing that type of behavior? One thing we don't want to do is to oppress our inner children, to oppress our shadow selves, to oppress our ego. We don't want to oppress them. We want to listen to them and hear them so that we can heal them, so that they can connect or disappear, whichever one, and that we can upgrade to our higher self. So that's what we're doing here. That was the next part I was going to talk about. When we get into these questions and we start asking ourselves these questions, what I was doing was I was getting ready to do an upgrade in that moment, because I was going to cut out the part that was infected. It's like a soul surgery. It's basically what it is. So I had to then sit back and go, wait, where did these insecurities come from, where it could be triggered so easily in such a small moment? And I won't get into all of that, but I had to do my own soul journey and soul journey. Sometimes we become strangers within our own selves. All of that can play together when you think about the wording of it. But I had to go on my own soul journey, my own quest, to find out what was going on in there, and what that trigger was. So when I got to that part, I had to realize what that lie was, because that's really the darkness that we have to take out is that thing that we believed that we never should have believed. So I did another video, and this is probably on TikTok as well, where I think I talked about one of the shadow work questions or things to look at is, what did you see like mimicked out in front of you? And this is when you're a child. What did you hear? What basically did you hear a lot of? And what did you believe to be true? Those three things are going to help you a lot when you're starting to think about where your triggers and stuff came from. Because when I had to start thinking about those insecurities that literally plagues me, and then you start thinking about, well, how did this damn insecurity affect my relationships? How did it affect me how did it affect my manifestation abilities to have the abundance that I deserve? If I think I'm ugly or dumb or too tall or too skinny or too light skin or too dark skin or good hair, bad hair, whatever it is. How did that affect us as people, as whole beings? And how did it affect how we created the environment in which we live? All of these are questions that come up with shadow work. But to try to keep it focused, because I'm sorry, it's hard for me to keep it focused. To try to keep it focused, we're talking about when we get to this trigger, what do we do? So when we get down to that trigger, and we start realizing that it's coming from whatever insecurity is coming from, that's when we have to start asking, well, where did that insecurity come from? What did I see, hear, and accept to cause it? Then you have to accept that it's a lie. So I had, people around me growing up that didn't really see my physical beauty. I was heavier and, just whatever people saw in me, that it made me feel very insecure in my own beauty. So that was something that I carried with me. It was something I accepted as true. I wasn't the normal beautiful. I wasn't, and here's the thing, I'm still not the normal, what you quote unquote would call average. Why the fuck should I be an average beauty? No, baby. No, this is extreme. This is on another level. This is like inside out glowing shit. Like, anyway, getting too much into myself because we should. But I had to sit back and look at all that shit that I accepted to be true, that I wasn't beautiful, that I wasn't worth looking at, that if a guy dated me, shit, I was a lucky one. Especially if I pulled a fine one, which I always did. Why wouldn't I, right? But in my mind, I would always be like, wow, such a good looking guy to like me, my ugly old self. And this is really my thoughts. But do you think I recognize that in the moments it was happening? Do you think I recognized that as I went through life? Do you think I didn't? I didn't, because I was not walking in my alchemist energy. I was not walking in my higher self energy. The higher self energy is the energy that gives you objectivity to look at the lower self and go, come here, baby, let me pull you up here so I can have a conversation with you. We could talk about what the hell you're doing, and we can figure this shit out. It does take doing a lot of work to get to the higher self energy, and it takes a lot of work to keep at the higher self energy, but we can never get there if we don't do the shadow work. We don't go into the shadow, into those dark parts of ourselves, into the abyss, and pull that shit out and look at it and get rid of it or connect it, whichever one you're supposed to do. But that's another part of figuring out what it is that you're supposed to do with that energy once you get to it. But one thing you got to do is have eyes to see and ears to hear, to be able to get to the energy, to understand it, to see where you are in the moment. So a book that I want to recommend is Beginner's Guide to Alchemy. Hold on. My phone is going dead, so I have to keep it plugged in. Okay, so I'm actually on page 48 or page 50. But I've had this book for a little while. It should be further along. But here's the thing, I very rarely finish a book. I have a lot of books. I don't get rid of them because I go back to them. And here's the thing, I can flip through them and just land on exactly what I need at the time. I do that with everything. I don't know how I do it, but I do it. Okay, so I was flipping along in this one, but actually I was kind of reading this one. And spiritual alchemy is something called blackening. Um, and there's spiritual alchemy, physical alchemy, mental alchemy. Physical alchemy is like turning lead into gold. I think you can do anything, but that's not what I do. Spiritual alchemy. And spiritual alchemy, blackening was all about removing the impure parts of your soul and spirit. Um, it's a type of internal surgery, cutting away. We've heard these terms in different religions, different spiritual walks and paths, cutting away or being, set apart, or however you want to call it, breaking chain, whatever you want to call it. We've heard of these in many different ways, but what it is an internal energetic cutting away. It will feel, you might even feel it. I have cut things out of my own soul matrix, and you could feel an actual pain sometimes, especially if you hold on to it for too long. Cord cutting, things like that. It could, so all of these things are tools for us to be able to upgrade. And that's what we're talking about too. We're talking about DNA upgrades. We're talking about once you are cutting away those lower energies and raising them to the higher energies, you are going to upgrade. Like, you're going to have DNA upgrades, I think. I think you may even start to feel healthier because there is psychosomatic, and you won't believe how much energy we hold in us that causes dis-ease, that makes us sick. You have to bring the body back into ease. Any Anything that is unaligned is literally going to disrupt. So all these things that we learn, and they have these buzzwords like shadow work and I don't know, whatever we call it, things, twin flame, which I do, I talk about the twin flame, but there's two types of twin flame. Okay, there's a twin flame that needs to unite within, and then twin flame that unites without. Without the twin flame uniting within, there can be um no ascension, and so there will be no union in the outer either. um I call them upgrades. So what we're talking about is ascension, and shadow work and things like that can open portals to DNA ascension. So I'm gonna do another video, and I'm gonna talk about the chakras and the mudras and the seed mantras, because the frequency and how that goes together can actually open up portals within the energetic body that we can then implant seeds into, that would then grow, that would actually change the energetic makeup of our molecular structure. That includes our physical structure. I think if we do it correctly, and I think binaural beats also plays a lot into this too, and theta waves. Theta waves, I think even more, because theta waves, I think, actually put the brain to sleep a little bit. It could be alpha waves. No, alpha. There's one of them that puts the brain kind of in a trance-like state. I think it's theta. And when you're in that trance-like state, if you can listen to the right frequency, the right sounds, it will um, ignite the seeds that are already planted into the energetic structure of the body. So there's already seeds put in there, because we say mantras over and over and over and over and over again. And that's what I'm talking about too. Like, when we believe stuff, our insecurities and stuff like that. If you think you're ugly enough, you will become ugly. You may not be physically ugly, but you're damn sure be spiritually and energetically ugly. You'll be jealous of other women, jealous, if somebody talks to your man, You won't help people. I ran into people that I could tell automatically, like, oh shit, you are so insecure. I cannot hang out with you. You be the bitch to destroy everything for me. Excuse my language. I never want to call another woman a bitch, but I've had some that had that jealousy about them. And here's the thing: you never know how insecure somebody. You jealous of me, and I'm just as insecure, and you're trying to take from me because you're just as insecure. So you see how this works? Like it's and this also plays with the law of environment. We create what we are. Like that's some real shit. You create what you are. I'm also gonna. So I started listening to people like some years ago, and I had a list of people that I used to listen to. One of those was oh my goodness. Um I gotta go back to my list, but they they really did open my mind to a lot of the metaphysical thinking. And when I say metaphysical thinking, just understanding that thoughts are things. Goodard. If you watch this video, is it Neville? Am I getting him mixed up with the singer? I think I might get him mixed up with the singer. There's this I think his name is Goodard or something like that. I gotta look it up. But thoughts are things. Just Google that. Thoughts are things. That guy that pops up that said that. He, listen to a lot of what he says because and there's this other guy that really started getting me looking into the Bible a whole different way back when, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I really started understanding the metaphysics of the Bible and how that all that shit works. But in order to do all of that, you got to really come out of the indoctrination of, we're not going to get into that. But I once again I did ramble with this video, but let's sum it up, shall we? The point of this video is, do your shadow work? Do your shadow work? And if you don't know what shadow work is, it is those questions that makes you dig deep into the deepest part of you and pull it out and look at it and be like, oh shit, this is what I've been carrying around. I want to be open and free, but I'm like this. So we got it, and this is like a knot. There's something called grantis, Grantis. Grantis are psychic knots. And I do think they travel on certain meridians and stuff. I gotta look more into it. I was studying it a while back. I study a lot of shit, and then I get like sidetracked, y'all. Um, but there's something called grantis, psychic knocks. These things can lock you up, and I do think they block energy. They block chakra flow, meridian flow, and all that. We create these psychic knocks through trauma and not understanding where the roots of our shit comes from. In order to undo these psychic knocks, it could be also done energetically through energetic work, such as Reiki, shamanic work, things like that. It can also be done by talk therapy, where you sit and you talk it out and you figure out what is going on. And it's usually a combination of both. I'm a reader, medium, tarot reader as well. And so and a spiritual coach, when I work with my clients, I know it's going to probably be both. So after I work with them and I bring up the trauma, I then give them ways to remove the energy, whether that's a bath, meditation, drumming. Sometimes it can be very specific, like use this herb for da 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 to remove that energy. But it really does need to probably be a combination of both when you're doing this type of work. This isn't easy work. Cutting yourself open, getting to the heart of everything, pulling that shit out, it isn't easy work, but it is work that has to be done to get to the next level in any change. So, on my TikTok, I was like talking to this guy. He also has a page, something Alchemist, because I subscribe. I'll put it in the comments. I always say I'm gonna put shit in the comments, but I need to put them in the comments. But I lost that point. I swear, my mind. Okay, so anyway, I'm rambling. It's on almost 25 minutes. So I didn't want this to be long. Anyway, I just want to kind of come to you and tell you the importance of shadow work. One question you can ask yourself about any situation is, why did I get so angry in that situation? Another trigger that you should think about When to ask yourself is when you cannot get over something. When it's something that you keep thinking about, like, why did that person say that to me? Is it something about me? Or why did this make me so mad? Why did this situation at the job make me so mad? I feel like they always look over me. Do people always look over you? Do you feel that way? Or is it your ego, talking? So that's the whole point, is learn to ask just that one question and see where it takes you. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Like, share, subscribe, because I probably always say at the beginning of the video, but I always forget because I'm not really a marketer. Just kind of a spiritual person doing spiritual shit. But please like, share, subscribe, comment. Bye.